Hello, class. This video is on week 12, and it is going to be looking at on-site communications. Let me go ahead and start by sharing my screen. Right, so week 12, we're looking at effective on-site communications. Some of the things, when we have a meeting, an event, we are working very closely, the planners working very closely with the CSM, and we just have to think about all of those best practices in communication, our strong listening skills, how do we overcome language barriers, reading body language, and things like that, because there's a lot of things that we have to work with together, and meeting can be very stressful, meetings and events. So when we look at effective communication, we look at, pre-planning. What are our goals? How are we going to communicate with all the stakeholders? What's the plan to accept new ideas? How do we coordinate the plan? And then looking at how the event happened at the end for a post-evaluation. 3 stages of event communication. There's the pre-event, pre-con, and this pre-con, a very comprehensive one, will happen maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks out, depending on the size of your group, and it's going to be a pretty lengthy meeting. Or you may do some of the work with individual stakeholders. Your AV company, your food and beverage, your housing. Anyway, a lot of that, you'll talk to them in advance. And then we have the on-site pre-con, normally 24, 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting. And this is when you are bringing everybody together, okay? And we'll talk about that as we go along. So during the pre-con, from the meeting planner perspective, they're going to talk about the event. They'll start to establish rapport with the facility. From the meeting planner's perspective, they're going to bring in the DMO. If they're working with a DMC, the transportation company, housing company, audiovisual, it could be a travel company, and of course the CSM and the venue team will be there. There'll be an agenda and it'll be distributed to everyone around that table. So let's look at it from the CSM perspective. So from the CSM, they want to do the very best job possible. And the venue at this pre-con will bring the director of catering. It could be the banquet manager, the front desk manager, the audiovisual manager, if they're using in-house audiovisual, security, a spa manager, if they've incorporated that. So this will be a very large meeting. I've seen them as large as 30 people, lots of people. And they're usually sitting around could be a hollow square, or it could be a conference room with the immediate and then additional seating around it. But anyway, usually the CSM will introduce the planner, and the planner will begin to lead the meeting. So the planner will talk a little bit about the group and some of their expectations. Then the hotel operations team will introduce themselves, and this may be the first time that you've met these people face to face. You may have talked to them a lot, or your CSM has talked to them, but to actually meet them face to face. So during the pre-con, everybody's going to get a copy of the group resume, the detailed schedule, or the working script, I sometimes call it. And it will go through every single thing. And then how to, what do we do about emergencies, any late check-ins? What are the hot buttons that we need to be worried about? And notice this in italics. One of the non-tangibles of the pre-con is for the hotel, the CSM, to get to know the planner's style and to start to build that rapport. Are they serious? Are they nervous? Are they confident about this meeting? Start to build that relationship. Other things that while the meeting is taking place, the second stage is thinking about how we are going to handle communication on site. There should be a protocol on how things are handled. And we usually use walkie-talkies instead of cell phones because in the case of an emergency, a walkie-talkie or a two-way radio is far more efficient. And this is only something that your team has. So protocol, how will we handle things that happen on site? Things happen on site. There's nothing runs 100%. Okay, just know that. It's how you handle it. Something could be as minor as a room being too hot or too cold. You know, who has the walkie-talkie? Is that something that gets escalated to the CSM, or is it to the meeting planner, or does somebody contact the meeting planner and the meeting planner then contacts the CSM? It just has to be the protocol. So rooms, relatively easy thing to fix. What happens if in a medical emergency? What's the protocol? Other on-site, I said temperature, AV doesn't work. Somebody's got a Mac and it doesn't work on a DOS. AV technician is needed to come in. You only need one person to contact them. This goes back to that protocol. Notice in highlight, in italics, it's common for meeting planners morning staff meetings where the CSM will be there and other key staff will be there to review the details of the meeting. This is particularly if it's a multi-day meeting so that you can look at what happened on day one. You're meeting the morning of day two and you're finding out what worked and what didn't, and if there's any problems that need to be addressed. And these morning meetings are not as big as a pre-con. It's just the key players. It's, I said a pre-con is like 30 people. This is probably only 10. Your AV person needs to be there for sure. Your food and beverage person needs to be there for sure. And then we have to look at post-con. So what do we do after the meeting? So there's usually two, usually some informal ones that are on site to look at some things that we can need to get some feedback and how well the staff performed. A second one will take place a little bit later to really get a holistic viewpoint, and we'll discuss what went well, what didn't go well, what can be improved in the future. Again, this is very important if it's a meeting that's happening more than once at that particular venue. And then this very last bullet, event professionals should really complete a post report called a PER. And this helps us collect information or share information on our meeting. And you can go ahead and click on this is a descriptive link that will take you to the EIC PER to look at. And it looks up room pickup and some things like that. Central tools, that meeting resume, it's generated by the CSM. It's shared with everyone. It's shared with all of the stakeholders. It would be shared with the room coordinator, the housekeeping, the front desk, the bell captain. This resume is going to have things that are critical to the success that are very important. It can be little things like the meeting planner only uses how to pronounce the meeting planner's name or such and such VIPs. If you see them, make sure you tell them hello. These next few slides, they are a lot of the people that the CSM interacts with, and the CSM interacts with everybody. The sales team, the rooms coordinator, they interact with the front desk for check-in, they interact with housekeeping, they interact with banquet captains. They could interact with chefs to make sure that the menus are correct, that they could interact with the carpenters, with the bellman, with accounting to look at how the final billing is handled. You say carpenters, how do you do it? Why would you interact with a carpenter? Well, if your meeting planner says they've got this gigantic banner they want to hang, how is that going to be done? Who knows where all the fixtures are in the hotel? So yeah, the CSM has a very important job and they interact with a lot of people. I think it'd be a really cool job. Other people, sales and marketing. Now, Professor Hickman, why would they interact with somebody from marketing? Well, what if they want to do filming? That's something you would need to get your meeting planner, your CSM would want to work with your marketing team on. So there's a whole lot of things that the CSM interacts with on behalf of the planner. And we're at the end of this. We're now looking at week 12. There'll be, of course, a quiz, and we get to your very last assignment. So let's look at that real quick. Assignment 5 is in 2 parts. It's a discussion board. So it's a discussion board post and reply. And right now you may be familiar with some academic journals, such as the Journal of Convention and Tourism. But after you leave college, you won't really have access to those anymore, unless you stay in academia. You'll really start to look at industry publications. If you're a planner, North Star Media Group is one of the e-publications you might look at. If you are staying in the hotel industry, Lodging Magazine. There's others. I just picked these 2 for the sake of this assignment. So please read all the instructions first, pick your area of interest, and then select one of 3 topics to research. It could be trends, it could be ethics, or it could be sustainability. I picked those 3 because I know there are articles on those in each one of those publications. Select an article, read it, then write a 300 to 400 word report. In it, tell me what the main point of the article was. Do you agree or disagree with the author's point of view? What questions do you have? Must have at least 2 questions. You can't just say, yeah, I agree, it's cool. No, I need more than that. So anyway, once you finish that, then you are going to post this to a discussion board. That's due on November 11th. After everybody has their post, you'll get a chance to go in and reply. The reply date is due on November 11th. So in your post, you are going to put the name of the article that you selected and a descriptive link to the article. You can either take that report and cut and paste it right into the discussion board, or you can add it as an attachment. It might be easier to do both to make it easier for your classmates to look at. So for the reply, I want you to review the postings of your classmate, choose one to reply to, read the article, and then say if you agree or disagree. And that reply should be 100 to 200 words. And you can certainly read more information on this. That concludes information on week 12. Please contact me if you have any questions.